Let's discuss what's going on with one of the architects of welfare reform. We're talking about Newt Gingrich, the former Speaker of the House, the former Republican presidential candidate. Mr. Speaker, welcome back to the Situation Room.
Good to be with you.
All right, so you agree that that ad is obviously wrong and that it's misleading, it doesn't tell the truth?
No, I actually think that this is a determined effort by the Obama campaign to avoid reality. One, it's Robert Rector at the Heritage Foundation, the leading expert on welfare reform, who said it was gutted. It's his language. Two, the letter in 2005 was signed by the governors to the Senate on behalf of a bill that increased the work requirement from 50 to 70%. And at that time, as governor of Massachusetts, Romney was actually working to get the state legislature to increase the work requirement in Massachusetts.
What's wrong with the federal government letting states who are closer to the welfare recipients of the problem? Normally, you want the federal government out of these issues. You want to give the states the authority to do so. That's what the president has done.
So let me explain why Section 407, which is the work requirement of the original bill, allowed for no waivers. What we had discovered was that, particularly in liberal states, going through drug rehab counted as work. Getting a massage counted as work. Testing out your bed by sleeping counted as work.
Mr. Speaker, you know, those are, wildly, distorted.
Well, I'm giving you this. This is from a government report.
But if you take a look at who asked for these waivers, governors, including Republican governors, they asked the Obama administration, please let us have these waivers so that we can deal with welfare reform, making sure people work instead of just receiving a check.
The two governors that Obama claims wanted this have both come out publicly and said that's not true, that what they've done at Health and Human Services is very different from what they were asking for. And I would simply say everybody should go to the Heritage Foundation site, look at what Robert Rector said. He is widely believed
Here are the two governors. These are Gary Herbert, Republican governor of Utah, Brian Sandoval, Republican governor of Nevada. They both asked the federal government in the Obama administration, let us have a waiver so in Utah and Nevada we can more effectively deal with welfare.
Right, and they both came out and said they were against what the Obama administration has done.
So why would they ask for that waiver to begin with if they later changed their mind?
They weren't asking for the kind of waiver he did. Now, if
they asked for a waiver.
If you'll notice, Section 407 is illegal under the law to waive Section 407. Obama used a totally different part of the bill to fudge what I think is probably an illegal action. The Congress made it illegal to waive this because our experience with states, particularly liberal states, was that they would redefine work to mean virtually anything.
You were at the White House when welfare reform was signed into law, is that right?
Right. You
remember who the President of the United States was? That would be Bill Clinton. You worked very closely with him. There was a close... I was the White House correspondent for CNN. I remember those days. You disagreed with him on a lot, but on this issue, you came to an agreement. He knows a lot about the subject, right? Bill Clinton, he's a smart guy. Here's what he says about this ad that the Romney campaign has put out. The recently announced waiver policy was originally requested by Republican governors of Utah and Nevada to achieve more flexibility in designing programs more likely to work in this challenging environment. The administration has taken important steps to ensure that the work requirement is retained and that waivers will be granted only if a state can demonstrate that more people will be moved into work under its new approach. So does Bill Clinton, is he making that up? He knows the subject.
First of all, Bill Clinton, I'm sure, was contacted by the Obama White House or the Obama campaign.
But you know, Bill, he wouldn't put a statement out if he didn't believe every word of it.
But he may believe it. That doesn't mean it's accurate. As I just reported to you a second ago, both those Republican governors disagree with being used by Obama as a defense for what he's doing. The fact is, Obama does not have the authority to waive this requirement. It was very specifically written into the law that it could not be waived. And the reason was, candidly, we in the conservative Republican Congress did not trust the president, and we did not trust the liberal governors to actually keep a work requirement if they had a chance to do away with it. And look at everything Obama's done. Look at all of his commitment on food stamps, all of his commitment on increased dependency, every effort he's made to get more and more people.
But on all those issues, you want the states to be in charge more than the federal government.
That's right.
Except when it comes to welfare reform, you don't trust the states.
On the issue of a work requirement, we felt deeply, and I think accurately, and I think Robert Rector at Heritage would absolutely reinforce this, that unless you made it a mandatory work requirement, it would get waived to a point where it became a joke. And I think this is a very real issue. The American people overwhelmingly believe in the work ethic, and they overwhelmingly reject dependency on the government.
So on food stamps, on Medicare, and other issues, you don't want the states, you want the federal government to dictate to the states also what they could do, or is it just on welfare?
Well, we're talking about a very specific question. I mean, look, there are places...
But this is a matter of principle for someone like you who believes in states' rights.
Okay, but there are places, I would say, for example, on honesty in paying for Medicaid, where New York State has more than a 10% fraud rate. The federal government ought to have something to say about that. That's your tax money being thrown away by an incompetent state government. So I do think you want to require certain things. In this particular zone, there's a fundamental question. Are we going to favor the work ethic, or are we going to favor dependency? And I think this is a very fundamental disagreement with Barack Obama.
I think it's a good substantive issue to debate, and they will argue, and I'm sure they'll make a strong case, they want to make sure that people just don't get a free ride, they don't get a check. They either look for a job or they're trained for a job, but they just don't stay on welfare. That nobody wants that. And you deserve a lot of credit, and President Clinton deserved a lot of credit for working together in the 90s to achieve that. We'll see where it goes from here. Don't go away. We have more to discuss. We're going to continue our conversation with the former Speaker of the House. Up next, we'll talk about the role of super PACs backing Mitt Romney before they were attacking President Obama. We're going to go through what happened. Stand by.